Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon for the latest film interviews, features, and recommendations on the movies that matter.
Jimmy Shergill, it's good to see you. How are you, Jimmy? How are you holding up? How are things?
I'm good, yeah, Rajeev. So good to see you here after such a long time.
It is after a really long time, and how strange that we're chatting over a Zoom call and not in person, right?
I know.
You know, Jimmy, for an actor who works as much as you, this must be the longest that you've spent indoors, right? Because you make Hindi films, you make Punjabi films, you've done 2 web shows now. Is this the longest time that you've not been on a set?
This is the longest time, I guess, I haven't stepped out of the house. Yeah, it's been 3 months almost, and I think I stepped out of the house just for a small little round after about 81 days. Yeah, 80 days, 81 days. I just went for a small round to just see whether the roads and the traffic signals and everything is still around, or has it disappeared, or what. So I just took one small little thing and came back.
But are you missing work, or are you sort of embracing the break?
See, I am missing work because you're so used to that routine that you're doing one film and then you're totally there, and then you move on to something else. So you're used to being home at times when prep and stuff is happening for any movie, and or when you're shooting in Bombay and stuff like that. But otherwise, we are always, and today, everybody wants to shoot films on real locations and stuff like that. So we are, that way is we are traveling most of the time. Yeah.
True.
It's either Lucknow or Punjab or wherever, or overseas, depending on what film you're shooting. So now suddenly for 3 months sitting over here, but then what can we do here? We have no other option. Can we do anything? Do you have a cure? Do I have a cure? Nothing. We can't do anything.
Right.
So yeah.
The interesting thing is that you've got a show that's dropping. I mean, it's actually dropped. This is a show called Your Honor, which is now streaming on Sony Live. All 12 episodes are streaming on Sony Live. It's an interesting show, Jimmy, because you play a judge, a very respected judge. He's someone who's respected. He's someone who toes the line. He's someone who really believes in the law. I mean, there's this beautiful moment where he actually he doesn't take his car out because the PUC has expired. And there's a moment where a cop tells him, that lady cop tells him that यहाँ तो लोग लाइसेंस के बिना गाड़ी चलाते हैं, पेपर्स के बिना गाड़ी चलाते हैं, इंश्योरेंस के बिना गाड़ी चलाते हैं, और आपकी PUC टेस्ट नहीं हुई है, and your PUC has expired and you're not taking the car. And that's interesting because it kind of gives you a sense of the fact that this is a guy who lives by the law. Now, it's interesting because he's thrown into conflict when his son is involved in a hit and run accident, and the victim of that accident turns out to be the son of a feared gangster.
Yeah.
To me, what is really interesting about the show is the moral dilemma. A man who is the upholder of the law, a man who actually delivers justice. What choice is he going to make when his son has committed the crime? What for you was the appeal, Jimmy? What for you was the appeal to do the show?
See, Rajeev, I still remember I was promoting Happy Phir Bhag Jayegi, and he came and met me, and we had known each other. So we had coffee together, and then
this is Nevas, the director.
Nevas, the director. So then what happens is that I kept telling him, I always used to tell him that I think you should direct a thriller, because Shul is such a fantastic film, and I said, go into the thriller genre rather than just doing all these light-hearted films and all that, whatever. I said, even I feel like doing a lot of light-hearted stuff, but that doesn't mean that I stopped doing the serious ones, So he said, no, I'm thinking of something. Then he told me the one line of the story, which I found the one line very, very interesting. And then what I did was that I told that, okay, fine, then whenever the script is ready, you let me know. And sure enough, after a couple of months, I got a script which was like 450 pages plus.
Right.
And I said, God, man, I should have just taken the narration. So anyways, I read the script because I love reading scripts. And really well written. I loved the dialogues. I loved the way it was adapted. And just before they had sent me the script, they had also sent me the entire series to, kind of go through it before I get on to reading the script.
This is the original Israeli series.
Israeli series from where this is adapted. And also, they've taken the rights and everything. They've done it properly. And I watched it. Obviously, Israel has a different culture. It has different laws. The rules and regulations is different. So when I read it, I was very surprised how amazingly they had adapted the whole thing to India, and that also somewhere in a place like Ludhiana in Punjab, and what all happens. And what I liked was, instead of having me as a Punjabi Sardar kind of a guy being over there, they have just kept him they gave me the brief that, let him be maybe from a Chandigarh or a Panchkula or from a Delhi or something like that, where he has moved into, say, Ludhiana at the age of 30 or something like that. And he started practicing over here. And then onwards, he fell in love with somebody. He married her. They had a kid together. And then he started, he became a judge and the sessions judge over here. And he's a very respected guy, and people love him. I mean, it's not that, one is, liking somebody because he has principles, but sometimes it's liking somebody because of the overall, the way the person is. He's a very righteous person. At the same time, when he is on the seat of the judge, he is not that boring. That's his space. So he enjoys it. So the people over there also enjoy it. And suddenly then he's caught up in this dilemma that this thing, and this is how the series actually starts off. It starts like that, which he wants to do everything very correctly. But the moment he realizes that this whole situation is now going to just get from bad to worse, is when he has to now somehow save his son. And but instead of things becoming better, they just keep becoming from bad to worse, and then what all happens and who all, and then all these other characters come in and what all happens. I think that is what I found really, really interesting. And obviously then when you have a good director, Inivas, directing it, you have a great producer in Applause and Sphere Origin, and a nice team with good actors. Then one by one all the actors started getting finalized, and I knew most of them, so I was very happy that I was working with them. And
but Jimmy, did you have this moment, what would I do? We often ask ourselves these questions, right? I mean, of course you're not a judge, but presumably you're a law-abiding citizen, and you have a teenage son. Do you find yourself asking that question? What would I do if I was in this situation? Would I do the right thing, or would I protect my son? Do you find yourself asking that question when you're playing a character who is in that situation?
So basically, Rajeev, what happened was that luckily for me, I have a son almost the same age. I mean, my son in Your Honor is he's just about turning 18, and my son just about turned 16. So maybe that was one of the reasons why, as an actor, I thought that, it's going to be fun playing with that emotion, knowing that your son in real life is also around the same age. And what if you're stuck in a situation like this? The only difference is going to be that I am Jimmy Shergill, the actor, whereas that's going to be Bishan Khosla, the judge.
Right.
But obviously now that guy, that Bishan Khosla, as a professional, as a judge, as this thing, how his brains work and what all he does is crazy. I mean, he's trying to do everything staying within the law, so that nobody this thing. But then there are times as a father, he knows that he can't do anything now. So there are times that he would feel like, let's run away from here. We'll see whatever happens, and because everything is then falling apart for him.
Right. I read an interview with the creator of the original Israeli series, and he said something that I thought was very interesting. He said we know and we accept that a parent is supposed to do anything for their child. But through this show, we wanted to explore what is anything. Is there no human or moral legal boundary? Just how far, will you, will he obstruct justice? How much will you lie? Will you will you pin the blame on an innocent person to save your child? And he found that exploring that, just how much a parent is willing to do.
Absolutely. I think here also, Vishen Khosla, the first thing as a judge, what he does is he says, sit in the car and I'm taking you to the cop station. And he goes there.
Right.
And he's going to, make sure that his son is, taken into custody and things happen and all that, whatever. But while he's waiting for that inspector to come to him and talk to him, he sees the breaking news. And the moment he sees that he is going to be pitted against, his kid is going to go into jail, and that is where some people are, and they are probably the most cruelest people of Punjab, and they're really dreaded, and he knows that that's it. My son is not going to live. So now is the question of saving him somehow or the other, and that is where it starts.
It's also very revealing about the nature of humans and the difference between parents and children, that we see during the show, that actually the son starts to become uncomfortable with all the lies and the cover up, and the father is just desperate to protect him, and his father is continuing, that cycle continues, but it's the son who keeps saying, I'll go and admit, I'll go and give myself up to the cops, but it's the nature of parents that they will do whatever it takes.
Absolutely. And I think, it's the age also. We've all, I know for sure, because even before my son was this old, I've got brothers whose kids have grown up. So I've watched them. So there is an age where you cannot argue with them. You cannot win an argument with them. They have their own reasoning, their own thinking. 1 minute they'll be like this, and the second minute they'll be something else. They'll be saying something else. So what I liked about Abir's character was that otherwise you could have just had a kid who's just going on one frequency. But here Abir suddenly is like, okay, fine, I won't do it. And then suddenly next moment, something has happened in his life in the daytime or something like that. He's somebody else. So that's how fickle kids are at a certain age. And I think that's been highlighted very well in the original also and in this also.
Also, I feel like the setting of Punjab is interesting because there is a certain lawlessness, or certainly Punjab has that reputation of lawlessness, right? Where sort of, he really, when the judge freaks out is, like you said, when he finds out that that this is the son of a gangster and that gangster is in prison. So the whole nature that even if the gangster is in prison, he can still harm my son. The whole lawlessness of Punjab was that one of the reasons why it was Punjab chosen? That was the backdrop?
Yeah, I think Ishan did his homework really well. I think he knew that Punjab will be the best setting because Punjab does have that little bit of trafficking thing happening, because of which, the dreaded guys are there. And at the same time, it does have the migrants who are there.
Yeah.
So, and they're really powerful, and they have their own bastis and big time, places where they're living. And he did his research really well, and I think that's why I said that the moment I read it, and I said, wow, he's adapted it so well to this thing, because had you taken it somewhere else, it wouldn't have fit in the way it fits in over here.
Correct. Because also, it's what you said, it's actually true, that a lot of the texture comes from the fact that there is this whole locals versus outsiders conflict, the outsiders, of course, being the bhaiyas, the UBites. And you see that in the gang wars, you see that in the force, in the police force. You see that really throughout this show, don't you?
Absolutely. And then in the middle of it is this one guy who's a sessions judge.
Correct.
Who's going to be coming in, and somebody sees him and somebody says that, I saw somebody look like a sessions judge or something like that, or a judge or a lawyer or something like that. So, and he's in the middle of it. Only he knows why he's there.
Right.
So the setting was fantastic, and why Ludhiana? Because they wanted a place which is a little cramped and stuff like that. We shot over there in winter, so he needed that fog, he needed all that stuff. So I think the setting was amazing. We had a good time.
Also, there is that whole, there is that whole dynamic with the mother-in-law, right? With your mother-in-law, played by the lovely Suhasini Mule. She plays, of course, he doesn't have a wife. He's lost his wife, and she's this presence. She's this nagging sort of presence who's in his life, who of course is there because of her grandson. But you kind of pick up backstory, right? You pick up that obviously she has helped them financially in the past. She's someone who has been a judge herself, and so she understands his job. Was that interesting to sort of explore? Because one hand you have the main plot, but on the other hand you see what his family life and what his life outside of the courts and outside of the job is like.
Rajeev, I think she is, according to me, she's from the first scene onwards, she is always, right from the first scene onwards, she is a kind of a reality check on him.
Mm.
So every now and then, did the car get stolen? Yeah, you didn't tell me. I was actually going to tell you. So he said, I have applied for the insurance. Gaadi mil gayi hai. So now he wakes up. So everything, even the banter is all the time. The banter is on between, and that is what irritates the kid. So, and it's done. I think that also brings in a little bit of a relief within the intensity of the show, because even though these people are talking very seriously and the banter is on, but the things that are being said are a little, kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah. Also, I feel like it's a really universal kind of story, isn't it? Because it worked in the basic story of the conflicted father. It worked in Israel as an Israeli show. It works here, and in fact, I don't know if you know, it's also being remade for America. In fact, Bryan Cranston, who was in Breaking Bad, is I believe doing that.
I was cool.
Right. So it really works in any culture and country.
It does. I mean, even I said that when I saw it for the first time, I said, wow, I think this is amazing. As long as they can connect the culture over here and the laws and everything, I think they'll be able to crack it. And that's exactly what Ishan did. I think he did it really well.
Jimmy, have you enjoyed this whole doing the shows? Because of course you worked in films, in Hindi films and then Punjabi films for so many years, and last year I think is when you did your first web show, and this is your second. What does this allow you? Do you find that because it's longer, because you can do 12 episodes, that there is more opportunity to sink your teeth into character, to really create a character, which sometimes films with their duration of 2 hours doesn't really allow you all the time, no?
Absolutely. I think I love this format, and I love everything about this format. I've enjoyed both these shows that I've done, both of them, and both are completely extreme. I mean, even the characters that Amarpal Singh was completely different. His walk, his everything was completely different. To this one is completely different.
Right.
And so that obviously is over in one season, because it was just one season and the story is over. It was based on one guy, he dies, and that's it, it's over. But I'm looking forward to the second season of this one, because it's already come out over there, and apparently it's amazing, because when you watch this, you will understand that towards the end, you will understand, we feel that the story has just begun, because that's the feeling that I got when I watched the first season. And apparently the second season is even better. So I'm looking forward to this. And the only thing, if you ask me, is there anything negative about it? I feel that in our industry, we'll take a little bit of time to get used to this OTT platform, as in, like, being utilized properly. Because right now, what we are doing is we are just trying to be very safe. So we are editing, just trying to make it very slick, like a movie, fast paced and everything like that. So we are losing those moments which are there, and it's very good for actors and directors, because those moments is what,
Correct.
according to me, makes OTT. I think
That's true.
the main thing for an OTT is the pauses. You're not thinking the scene is over, but there is something on your face which they stay on. But
Correct.
here it gets chopped off. So I feel that we'll get there in some time. I think we'll all realize that. I think maybe we're just waiting for the audiences also to get used to the fact that, okay, fine, that is there. And I think in this lockdown, they must have realized it while they've been watching all the, international shows. They must have realized that those things are very, very important. And I think they're missing over here. That's the only thing which I feel is missing right now from our routine.
Jimmy, one has really enjoyed the work that you've been doing lately, especially in films like the Happy Bhag Jayegi series, or of course, Tanu, Weds, Manu. I mean, those two films, I mean, you were incredible in those. Also, Saheb, Biwi or Gangster. I feel like between Tigmanshu Dhulia and Anand L. Rai, they've really tapped, they've really been able to sort of exploit your potential, in these years. Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. I think I still remember we were shooting for Tanu Weds Manu Part 1, and we were going to do our first scene together, Anand and myself, and it was on the banks of a river where he has this confrontation with Kangana's character, and he's shouting at her and all that, whatever. So originally I thought that the scene will be a little bit like, whatever. But Anand Rai told me that, I've never seen you going all out. Just go all out, like scream at her.
Right.
So I said, okay. And that's how that scene happened. And then onwards, we got that character.
Right.
So that is how it happened. With Saheb Biwi Gangster Part 1, again with Tigmanshu, my thing was, okay, fine. What do you think? Because I used to always see them having major discussions about how the gangster is going to be, how the PV is going to be and everything. So I felt that somewhere I still don't understand how Saheb is going to be, because we've not really defined it like that, So he said, you just grow a mustache and we'll work on the look and all that, and he's royal, and that everything else was being worked on. And I was still clueless. I said, that, how is Saheb going to be finally? And then on the first day of the shoot, before the first shot is when Tigmanshu tells me that it's a very simple thing I want you to follow. Is if somebody says Saheb, a normal person would just look like that. And whereas if somebody says Saheb, you will take a second and then you will look. So that is it. And I just got the character. I just got that thing because I've worked on so many films with Tigmanshu before.
Correct.
That he just had to give me that one line that I just understood that, this is what he wants from the thing. And then we had fun with it. And every scene was just fun.
You, of course, made your debut, Jimmy. I think it was, 24, 25 years ago in Maachis? 96
is when Maachis released.
Maachis came out, Gulzar Saab's film, yeah. And you got great reviews in that film, Jimmy. You were the surprise packet. I mean, you were wonderful in that film. Do you have memories of making Maachis, Jimmy?
Oh yes, memories. Every memory is so clear today. What fun we had! What amazing fun! And I just wish that we were a little more easy on ourselves, the way Gulzar Saab would always tell us that just go have fun. As a young, go out, go for dinners, do this, do that. And we were like, no, sir, we just go to sleep at 9 o'clock. We have to work hard. We have to be like this. When you look back, you said, we should have done what he was telling us to do. He said, film hai, ho jayegi, I'm there. Make a good film. Don't worry about it. But don't take things so seriously. Get out of your house. Go out, have dinner, do something, party.
Right. But have a life beyond the films. Yeah. Finally, Jimmy, I have to ask, earlier this week, of course, we were hit by the tragic death of Sushant Singh Rajput. I mean, that was news that of course shocked every one of us. It really sparked a conversation about mental health, about the pressures that actors go through. Jimmy, as someone who also has made his own way in this profession, you've come up, through hard work. What did you find yourself thinking about? What did you find yourself contemplating when you heard this tragic news?
It was shocking, yeah, Rajeev. Because I never had pleasure of meeting him or kind of working with him or talking to him, but just the news as it is, when you get up to something like that, and you get to know that this is what has happened, and you say, "My God, everything was going so well for him. He was doing so well. He was a young lad. He was seemed vibrant. He was, everything." And just when a few weeks back, we have had those shockers of Irfan Bhai and Rishi Uncle and everybody. So, again, I said, not another shock, man. And this was shocking because that's no age to go in. That's not a way to go. But it was really sad. Really, really sad.
Well, all the best, Jimmy. They only sent me 4 episodes of Your Honor. I still have the rest of the season to go. Now that it's streaming, I can watch all the episodes. The show, of course, is on Sony Live. It's all 12 episodes are streaming. It is Sony Live 2.0's first original series. I think you're wonderful in it, and I really enjoyed watching you sink your teeth into a character. I think that the moral dilemma at the center of it is so interesting. It really asks us about how far you'll go as a parent, and the whole definition of what is right, what is wrong. I thought you really enjoyed sort of getting into it. So I'm looking forward to seeing the second season, if you'll decide to make it as well. But thank you for the movies. Thank you for the work. You've been working tirelessly for so many years, and we enjoyed watching everything that you do, Jimmy.
Thank you so much, Rajeev. It's always a pleasure talking to you.